see the picture of a 2-year-old kid upside down on a rug. You got an 18-year-old daughter, let's see the picture. A decent person lies to make you feel good. Here's the best example. Your wife says to you, do I look fat? Sooner or later, in every marriage, there's going to come a time where the wife is going to look at the husband and say, be honest with me. Do I look fat? You better have a bulletproof vest. They always ask you like they really want to know. You have to tell me the truth. You don't help me by lying to me. You have to be honest with me. I don't care if other people lie. I don't know them. You're my husband. You owe it to me to tell me the truth. Be honest, please. Do I look fat? So you say to yourself, well, I'll take a chance. Well, I'll be honest with you. You do look a little... I look fat too. You got the knife to talk about fat. Did you ever see what you look like? I get nauseous even looking at you.
My fiancée is actually pretty stunning. She's 5'10" with blonde hair and blue eyes. She enjoys making housework and loves to go visit the movies very much. I can't wait to meet her. I just need to send the 8,000 introduction fee to myrussianbride.com and I'm away. Who is the winner in Jackie Mason's joke about his wife? He might say he was, but I think his wife would think differently. It's not really aggressive, but it certainly is about both Jackie and his wife battling to come out on top. And the battle of the sexes is most often fought in the bedroom, where everything is about who's on top and who's going to come first. Here's American comedian Dennis Miller on the subject of sex. If he comes across as a bit angry and right-wing, don't worry. That's just because he's a bit angry and right-wing.
I've always treated sex somewhat respectfully, though. I think you should trust your partner implicitly. At the very least, I think you have to believe they won't make fun of the faces you make during sex. Because, you know, when we orgasm, we all make that one face where we look like Shemp when he needed cheese, you know. I think women are a little more creative sexually than men. Men are so often saddled with the birthright of being the sexual conqueror. They have little time for nuance. Indeed, their main preoccupation seems to be keeping score. Women, classically the sexual recipients, have a lot more time to lay back, relax, plot their next move. Let me show you the primary difference in the room tonight. How many of the men here actually used a little flap on the front of their underwear? I'm 34. I've never used that. What is that, a little decompression chamber for the penis? Or equalize the pressure before you bring it back on board the Seaview? What is that about? But women love to use the little flap. They get to play all sorts of fun women games, like Here Comes the Moray Eel out of the cave, and Flipper's got a backache, you know. Let's interrogate the political prisoner, you know. Open the pod bay door, Hal, you know. I have a theory. I think for the first 18 to 20 years of a young girl's life, she's familiar with the male genitals, but only on a sexual level. Anatomically speaking, she doesn't know what makes it tick. So when she finally forms her first intimate bonds with a young man, somebody she trusts, the first 6 months of the relationship turn into a big penis stress test. I mean, that doesn't hurt if I turn it around 3 times like that. That doesn't hurt if I pull this up on top like a little hat. I could actually look right into that. You know, like, honey, for Christ's sakes, what are you, Chuck Yeager? You know, I mean, they always want to see what it can withstand. You know, you're reading the paper, you hear, does that hurt? You look down, it's in a Black & Decker Workmate. Well, you know, honey, that hurts a lot, all right? So let's put the belt sander away.
The idea of superiority would also explain why we laugh at minority groups. Is it fair that some jokes poke fun at minorities? Of course not. Only a total... Well, I better not say. They take offence very easily. You know what they're like. But only a total one of those would say that. Not all jokes fit into this idea of superiority, however. Lots of jokes don't rely on one-upmanship at all, especially observational humour. That invites us to see the world through the eyes of the comedian and can turn the everyday and familiar into something absurd and hilarious. Michael McIntyre is an absolute master of observational comedy.
When you're in the sea and you need to pee, do you pee in the sea? Don't answer. I know the answer. I know we all go through the same thought process. You're in the sea, you feel pee brewing. You think, I better get out of the water and pee in the loo that has been designed for this very moment. But then you look into the water and you think, hang on a minute, this is where all the pee lives in the world. I'm in the home of pee. So you come to the conclusion that you could pee in the sea, because if you peed in the loo, the pee would beat you back into the water. You were standing next to your own pee going, why did you do that? I don't know, I panicked, I thought it was civilised. So we think we can pee in the sea, but obviously you still have to be in the water. All right, you can't, even though it's sort of acceptable, you still can't be standing on the beach going, it all ends up there anyway. Bring back your children, nothing's wrong here.
I was swimming in the UK last summer, and the water was disgusting, full of used condoms and human excrement and God knows what else. It's about time the council cleaned that pool. So you can see not everything in the world of comedy can be thought of in terms of superiority theory, but that's hardly surprising. What would be more surprising would be if you could explain the entire history of human laughter with one neat little theory. It would be like trying to explain away thousands and thousands of years of sexual politics with the simple phrase, men like boobies. Although that's a bad example because that does actually work. Another way of looking at superiority is to think of jokes as somehow having a winner and a loser. Can you spot who's the loser in this clip from Andy Parsons?
What is our response to flooding at the moment? Sandbags. What a shit idea that is, ladies and gentlemen. What good is that going to do? I've often been down the beach and let me tell you, it hasn't stopped the tide coming in once. Surely we should make bonus kitchen towel. They should make some of our flood defences. What with their super absorbent thirst pockets. Or make them out of hobnobs. Hey, you can soak up a cup of tea with one hobnob. We do know what happens to our teenagers is an important topic, right? This government, they've decided they're going to try and inoculate all 12-year-olds against cervical cancer. Now, this has kicked up a storm. A lot of religious groups have said this is going to lead to a shaggers charter. You're thinking most 12-year-old girls probably haven't got a clue what HPV is, and probably a lot of them would struggle to work out what a cervix was. If you said to a 12-year-old, what's the relationship between HPV and a cervix, I bet you'd get some hilarious answers. Is it that lorry drivers drive an HPV and every year they've got to take it in for a cervix? Cancer is a serious topic. According to the government, the things that can increase your chances of getting cancer: smoking, drinking, foods, sex, sunshine. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm thinking I'm a risk category. That is a lot of things I like. Yeah, what a bastard cancer is, ladies and gentlemen. Why couldn't the things that increase your chances of getting cancer be aubergines, horseradish sauce, fisherman's friends and ballet?
In my day, there was just one sexually transmitted condition that all teenagers were terrified of getting. Pregnant. Did you spot the loser in that clip from Andy Parsons? Of course, it was a trick question. The loser was Andy Parsons. God bless you, Andy. Of course, the winners and losers in a joke can change as it goes on. Lots of jokes work like this. At first, one group exerts their superiority in a situation, only for them to be put in their place by the seemingly losing group. Sounds complicated? It's not. Just see who comes out on top in this clip from Dom Herrera, New Yorkers or pilots.
You know how nice everybody is on a plane because they're afraid they'll die? Excuse me, pardon me, no, you go ahead, don't worry about me. As soon as we land, pilot says, "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain in your seats till we get to the terminal." It's like, yeah, right. Everybody starts throwing their bags on the floor. We're down. Stewardess flips out, comes running up the aisle. "Please, it's against federal regulation. You have to sit down." We sit down. I'm sitting there thinking, really, what could they do? Take off again? Okay, folks, you want to play games? We're up again. Now we'll show you turbulence. Hey, remember how to use those oxygen masks? Turbulence is frightening. I don't understand people that go to amusement parks. I spend most of my time trying not to be nauseous or dizzy. "Excuse me, could you strap me in upside down?" "Yes, I'd like to be as sick as humanly possible." I was wondering, what is it? You wake up one morning, you go, "You know, I feel great today. I really feel great. I think I'll go down to Funland and snap my neck on the back of a ride."
Now, after all that complicated stuff about superiority theory, let's finish off by getting back to basics. Here's a man taking the piss out of a woman over a fridge. It's John Bishop.
And you just buy stuff, don't you? Like we bought a new fridge. And we had a fridge. There was nothing wrong with the fridge that we had. It just wasn't massive. So my wife wanted a new fridge. She wanted a new silver fridge that's the size of a bungalow. So she wanted a new fridge, and because I liked sex, I said yeah. And we got this fridge, and the best thing about this fridge, the big selling point about this fridge, is that you can get instant cold water direct from the fridge, which is, I've got to be honest, that hasn't half changed our lives. Because what we've decided to do is to put the fridge in the kitchen next to the sink. And probably save myself a yard of walking every day. But what that meant is that we had the spare fridge. I don't know if anyone's tried to get rid of a fridge these days. It's a nightmare. But I don't know if you're aware of this fact, that if you're from Liverpool, by law, someone in your family has to have a van. It's true. You ask any Scouser you know, they know someone with a van. And so my brother already, he's got the family van. I phoned him up and said, I need the van. I've got to get rid of a fridge. So I took the fridge to the dump. Now, as I say, going to the dump used to be great. You could go to the dump and get rid of stuff. Now you go to the dump, you've got to pass an exam. I tell you at the dump, there's a fella there with a yellow vest and a clipboard who's done an MVQ in clipboard management. I turn up at the dump. He said, what have you got? I said, rubbish. And he said, well, what's in the back? I said, the fridge. He said, whoa, you can't bring that here. I said, why? He said, we've got an environmental policy now. You can't just bring a fridge here. I said, why not? He said, well, fridges have got fairons in. You can't just dump a fridge anymore. I said, well, what has to happen? He said, well, you'd have to phone us up. I said, and then what happens? He said, then we come and get it. I said, who do I ring? Look, this is true, this. I said, who do I ring? And he gave me a number. I'm sat in the van, I've got my phone out. I pressed the number. The phone in his hut rang. He went to the hut, he answered the phone, he said, hello? I said, I've got a fridge. He said, where are you? I said, I'm outside, dickhead.
So, who was the winner there? Well, it might seem at first like it was John Bishop, having a rant in front of hundreds of people who, through their laughter, are taking his side in the argument. But if you think about it, his wife is probably at home right now, relaxing with a fresh, cool glass of ice-cold water from her brand new fridge. I'm Jimmy Carr. See you next time. That was Jimmy Carr's Comedy Cuts with me, Jimmy Carr. It was written by me and Dom English and was produced by Paul Russell. This was an open mic production for BBC Radio 2.